I'm going to do a couple rapid fire player evals at you here. Okay.
All right, let's do
Couple names of guys I like coming out of the week, and you can just kind of give me a quick, 30-second elevator pitch on them.
Cool. Sounds good.
Starting with a wide receiver from my alma mater, Cyrus Allen. This was a guy I liked during the season, and I heard he got a lot of buzz last week.
Love him. One of my biggest risers of the entire Senior Bowl. I mean, he was one of the best route runners there. He had fantastic body control, really good hands, and even when we got into the red zone drills on day 3, he was going up and getting it. He was attacking things at the catch point despite being a little bit smaller of a receiver. I think that this kid can play at the NFL level. Like, I think he's legit has that wide receiver 3 type of ability to him, and he had an awesome week. And the NFL noticed that too. If he puts together some good athletic numbers at the combine, we're going to be talking about Cyrus Allen as certainly a top 100 pick, maybe even a top 75 pick for how good he looked this past week.
Let's go. Bearcats taking over the league. Love to see it. Yes. All right. Paige Casey. Now, this guy has been one of the best linemen in college football for 2 seasons now. When I was doing Team of the Week for PFF, I think he was the tackle of the week every single week for like 6 straight weeks last season.
Yeah.
I don't think his production was as great in just like the season as a whole, but he's projecting to the next level. I think he's going to be a solid line.
Yeah, I think that solid's probably the word that you're shooting for with Cage Casey. I mean, even when I was watching him, he's somebody who wins and losses. Like, it's just it's inconsistent for him, but he'll have really good reps. He's got things he's got to polish up. Sometimes I get a little bit worried with how he takes on power. And he came into the Senior Bowl at a little over 6'5" and 309 pounds. I can't remember what Boise State had him listed at, but there were times when I felt like, dealing with some of the strongest defensive linemen, the fastest defensive linemen, the linemen who have the longest arms that he faced throughout the season. It's those premium guys that he'll see a lot more on a regular basis at the NFL level that I felt like he struggled with. The run-of-the-mill, average and even above average pass rushers, I think he has the ability to handle pretty well. But I do think he is more of a backup, maybe swing offensive tackle, sort of a solid depth player at the NFL level.
Yeah, especially coming over from Mountain West competition into Power 4. That's probably a good point made there. Julian Neal. So this guy I like a lot. TJ Wenger, the last draft analyst I had last week, was really high on this guy. Thoughts on him?
Yeah, super explosive, really long. I mean, he's got the potential to play that press man coverage. He played, again, it was an up and down week like it is for a lot of guys at the Senior Bowl. I wouldn't say that he was like a major standout for me, but there were times when it's like, okay, you get in those press coverage one-on-one reps where you're obviously able to get hands on him pretty quickly. You're able to flip the hips. You're able to run with these guys. I did feel as though, if I'm remembering him correctly this past week, I felt as though some of those double moves and just sort of the quick hesitation got him with a little bit of like, his feet were in quicksand, you know what I'm saying? Where he would be like, okay, all right, now I'm going to read where you're going. And at that point, it was a little bit too late. Now he's in recovery mode. Now he's trying to catch up to the wide receiver, which it's not always the worst thing because trail technique is a thing. Sometimes you can play trail technique well and you've got that recovery speed, and I do think he's a good athlete.
Doss used to do it in the American Conference, but that's because he was just faster than everyone else.
He was able to recover really well, yes. But
it was like, I would notice it on his reps. I would be like, no, Sauce did that on purpose because he knows he can catch up to the guy.
It's a lot more difficult to do that at the NFL level, but I think that somebody is going to take Julian Neal, I think right around the top 100, right? I think that back into the 3rd round, early part of the 4th round because of the size that he has. That's sort of the range that I have for Julian Neal.
Do you think the Rams are going to take Colton Hood at 12 overall, or is that too high? I think he fits them perfectly on in the secondary.
I wouldn't mind the fit. I think that 12's too high for Colton Hood. Even watching him this past week, I watched him in his Tennessee tape, and I really like how he closes downhill when he's in sort of those off-coverage roles. He does have the athleticism to play man coverage, but I always felt like he was more aggressive and confident when he was in off-coverage, and he was able to kind of come downhill and anticipate when the quarterback was going to release it. He's got a good feel for how much space he should give a wide receiver while still having the ability to, attack the ball if it's coming towards the sideline. Overall, 12 overall, you're talking about like Jermon McCoy, Mansour Delane. I do not think that Colton Hood is the type of prospect that those two guys are at corner. And I think we saw him have an up and down Senior Bowl week. There was some good that you could hang your hat on, but there were also times when I felt like wide receivers were getting the better of him, especially in those one-on-ones. A lot more mock drafts recently of Colton Hood going really high in mocks, and I think I see him more as like a back end of the first round, but I'd be much more comfortable with him as a second round corner type of a player because of how much I feel like he both won and lost. You're going to have to take the good with the bad, and I feel like that spells out a second round corner more than a first round corner.
So here's a running back I've been familiar with for a few seasons now. I did a feature story and interviewed this kid a couple years ago back at California. Had an interesting season at Oklahoma. We don't need to talk about the regular season, but he kind of blew up at the Senior Bowl last week. Jaden Ott.
Yeah.
This kid has elite traits as an NFL running back in terms of just like physical tools. The production hasn't necessarily been there, but he's shown it in prior seasons on tape. So what are your thoughts on Ott moving forward? Because he's got speed, man, and he's got the size. He's the size of an NFL back. You just didn't see the production.
Yeah. Got buried on the Oklahoma depth chart for whatever reason. But I had him RB2 going into the year.
He looked really good in the game. I'll just say
I thought you go back 2 years ago, because not 2025, you go back to 2024, like he was hurt in 2024, so the numbers weren't the same, the tape wasn't the same.
Yeah.
But if you go back the year before when he was fully healthy at Cal, that
1,300 rushing yards.
3 season, I mean, he was awesome. The vision was great. He was decisive. He was great behind zone blocking concepts.
He would run kick returns too. He was doing special teams for him.
I think he is absolutely an NFL talent. I don't know what happened at Oklahoma. I don't know. There are Oklahoma fans that'll tell you, like, oh, you know, he got hurt and then he quit on the team. And I have no idea. I have no idea what happened, but for whatever reason, they did not play him at all whatsoever. And I think something happened. Yeah. Something happened, and the Oklahoma program was, because it's not like Ott was hurt the whole season. I don't think he was hurt the whole season. For whatever reason, Oklahoma did not want to play him over the other backs that they played a lot more than him. But I think he's got NFL ability. I think you saw that in practice. I think you certainly saw that in the game as well. So I'm a fan of his when it comes to what he could be in the pros.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where he ends up in the draft, because I do see him being an RB2 in the league and being a damn good one, honestly.
Yep.
So, here's a player I have been manifesting to the Detroit Lions.
Okay.
Where are they going to draft Jennings Dunker? He's such a Dan Campbell player, man. Just get him in the Honolulu Blue.
I like Jennings Dunker, man, and I was really high on him coming into the season. I knew that he probably was not going to be a tackle at the NFL level. I have always projected him to play guard, and which the Lions need. Right. I think that they played. I think that they. I think the way he played at guard this past week at the Senior Bowl makes you think that he can be a starting guard at the NFL level. Now, he's something that needs cleaned up. Dalton Washman and I both noticed this with him. His stance, his pre-snap stance, is not very explosive. Like, it doesn't give him the ability to get off the ball very quickly. His feet are kind of like pointed a little bit outward, and he's so much more on his heels, to where if you slow down some of the reps that you saw, especially in day 1, day 2 and day 3, I think it was a little bit better. I don't know if he was like trying to change things up a little bit, but if you watch him on day 3, let's say he's like going this way, like it's a mid or outside zone play, and he's moving his body this way. The ball will be snapped, and you will almost like see him like load his foot and then go. It's not, well, the ball was snapped, boom, I'm already on my toes, I'm already loaded on my quads, and the second that the ball moves, I am moving in this direction. It's almost like a, you know how like a cartoon, like they like load up to then like you have like a powerful run or like start running. It was almost like, I'm over exaggerating obviously to that point, but it was very strange to me, because on the good plays where we saw him explode, it's like, dude, you have this in you.
Yeah.
His stance was just very interesting. So he's not going to be a first round pick. I don't think he's going to be a first round pick because of a lot of this, you know, the position change and maybe having to mess with his footwork and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm still a Jennings Dunker believer. And whether it's the Lions in the second round or wherever it is, just a team that runs that outside zone. I mean, he is somebody who is built like you want an offensive lineman to be built, not only physically, but also the mentality
The mullet,
he has.
yeah.
The mullet as well, yes.
To me, it's the classic aesthetic of that's a football player, where you just look at, and I know maybe that's lazy scouting, but
I agree with you though.
Last guy I want to ask you about on rapid fire here, one of your guys, a Gator great. I've heard mixed things about this player, and I did hear he had a good Senior Bowl, so I'd like to hear your take on him. Caleb Banks, the defensive tackle from the Florida Gators.
It's a very needed week for him because I thought Caleb Banks was a surefire, no question about it, top 50 pick in last year's draft. And then he opted to return to Florida, and I was like, all right.
Like Dante Moore did this year?
Yeah, I didn't see that one coming. And then obviously Florida doesn't have a great year, but more importantly, Caleb Banks hurt his foot and he barely played this past season. So, of course, the NFL can often be a what have you done for me lately kind of a thing when it comes to scouting. And so this week was really big for him. And I thought he was pretty quiet that first day of practice. But then the second and third days, not to say that he was completely dominant, because I think there were certainly times when he was still losing some reps. But the good, like the flashes, the best from Caleb Banks, you go, yeah, okay, I understand why you got top 20 projection going into the year. Like there are just moments where at 6'6", 330 pounds, you shouldn't be able to explode the way that he does into the backfield and just getting through offensive linemen. So I thought that his best reps were as dominant as anybody's throughout the week. Although it was still inconsistent, it was good to remind NFL scouts and teams and everything like, hey, I still have this. Like, even though we haven't seen it in a year, I've still got it. So I do still think he's in the first round conversations.